All right, I want to welcome everybody who is just tuning in online to watch the photo or the assignment and assessment portion of the live session. If you haven't already, please make sure that you have watched the first part of the live session because I did go over some important announcements. And we're going to take a look at our assignment for week 3 and also our assessment for week 3. I'm going to do a demo of not a wedding invitation. I'm going to do a birthday invitation, but along the same idea for your assignment. And I'm not going to do a full demo of the assessment. Instead, I am going to go over some of the things in the assessment that you will run into as far as requirements and how to do them. But I kind of had demoed in week 1, doing a layout and following the instructions. So I really want you guys to do that on your own. And like I said, I will show you some of the different ways to do all of the different things that you need to do in the assessment. All right, so let's hop over into the course and we'll go up to our assignment for week 3 and read it over first. Also, make sure that you are watching any of the course videos that you need to watch this week under your course media. This will definitely help you. There should be, for week 3, one video, and there is a lynda.com playlist, which will go over spacing and alignment, and then paragraphs, drop caps, typographic anomalies, basically working with numbers, creating hierarchy, basic typographic grids. So lots of good videos this week, and also a PDF for you to read over on using the right characters, alignment, and then other tips. So don't forget to do that. Ugh. Just bring me back to the assignment. There we go. All right, so career relevancy. You will be designing invitations at some point. Even if you don't do it professionally, as soon as somebody knows that you are a graphic designer, they will ask you to design an invitation for them. You've probably run into this already, with some of your friends or your family, and they're like, hey, do you mind making me an invitation, please? It doesn't need to be like that crazy. I'm sure you've all gotten those been asked that question. I get asked that all the time. Can you please? But if there's a lot of money to be had in doing wedding invitations or first birthday invitations, baby shower invitations. There's definitely some cash there. So event invitations are a common one-time design deal and therefore a typical freelance project that you can get connected with through family and friends. If you do a good job and make your client happy, can lead to more work through word of mouth. Some designers specialize in creating wedding and party invitations and create custom work for clients through their online design services or collaborative sites like Etsy. I'm sure you've all been on Etsy. So, our background on this: techniques to create hierarchy in text. An invitation, like an advertisement or a public announcement, is a call to action to a purchase or participation of some sort. When designing this type of work, you are dealing with several pieces of information that are separate from each other and may not need to flow in sequence, like a paragraph of text. Some of the information will have more importance and need to catch the audience's eye more than other information. To help organize and guide a reader through this type of information, you need to create visual hierarchy in order of importance in the text. You want them to clearly see what you deem to be the most important thing first, in order of less importance from there. So there are several different techniques that you can use to create this hierarchy, such as contrast in text size, font families, and or styles, different alignments, creating specific line breaks to separate content, grouping the lines by using spacing or leading, and adding color. Size, contrast, and color will help define to the reader the order of importance in the text. Grouping different bits of information together, such as dates or an address, and separating it from the rest by adding space will organize the information and help a reader single it out for reference. Combining fonts to create hierarchy. Combining different typefaces is an effective way to achieve contrast and create a hierarchy in the text. We can compare fonts to actors on a stage. Like a font, each actor has its own personality and a role to play. Some are the lead actors and some are supporting actors. A successful play needs both. The font combinations are the designer's decisions. If you use a bold font with a lot of personality, it will automatically draw a lot of attention, so it needs to be applied to the text that should stand out the most. And then here's your prompt. For this assignment, you will design a typographic wedding invitation for a fictitious couple so that you can apply the techniques you have learned to create hierarchy using only words and letters. When designing an invitation, it is very important for it to have a voice and a theme. So because this is a typographic wedding invitation, no images can be used. And you need to choose one of the 4 scenarios below. Tyler and Marianne are having an extravagant, formal winter wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. So you can download their detailed information here. Let's just take a little peek. Tyler Anderson and Marianne Lynch, extravagant, formal wedding at the New York Plaza Hotel in the winter. Here's their invitation copy, cannot be altered except to remove unneeded punctuation. The honor of your presence is requested at the marriage of Marianne Lynch and Tyler Anderson, Friday the 24th of November, 2017, 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the Plaza Hotel, 5th Avenue, New York City. Reception immediately to follow. Feel free to look up the Plaza Hotel in New York City to get a good feel for the setting. That is not your ad copy. That is telling you to do that, basically. So you need to think this through. All right, what does that mean? What would that type of an invitation look like? Then you have Paul and Joan. They're having a traditional family wedding at their parents' country club in Vermont. So you can download their detailed information. We'll just take a quick peek. Paul Cummings and Joan Schumer, traditional family wedding at a country club in Vermont. Same directions. Together with their families, Joan Schumer and Paul Cummings request the pleasure of your company at the celebration of their marriage, Saturday the 7th of October, 2017 at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Riverside Church, Chester, Vermont. A reception will be held that evening from 7 to 11 o'clock at Rockingham Country Club, 3496 Butternut Hill Road, Chester, Vermont. Then we have Carlos and Olivia. They're having a destination wedding with a relaxed ceremony in the Caribbean, which it's the middle of winter, so that sounds lovely to me right now. Let's take a look at theirs. Remember, it's relaxed. So with great pleasure, Olivia Longhorn and Carlos Mendez invite you to join them at the celebration of their marriage, Saturday the 7th of April, 2017 at 6:30 in the evening, Willa Resort, Mondays Bay, I'm not even going to try. I can't speak tonight. Inguia, I know I can say that. Dinner and dancing to follow. All right, so again, this is a fictitious resort, but please feel free to look up Mondays Bay and Inguia, because now I can say it, to get a good feel for the environment. And then we have Sean and Harley have planned a casual summer wedding on a ranch in Montana. So you can download their detailed information. We'll take a peek. casual summer country wedding at the ranch. Sean and Harley are getting hitched. Please join us for a celebration of love, friendship, laughter, and family. Saturday, June 7th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the evening. Wise River Ranch, Dillon, Montana. Fabulous food, fun, and festivities to follow. So, semi-fictitious place, but you can kind of look it up. So, as a designer, it's your job to bring out the feeling of the event by your use of fonts, hierarchy, alignment, and color. So, each of these invitations, or I should say, none of these invitations would probably have the same type of font or the same type of text treatment because they all have a different feel to them. So you need to figure out what fonts would go with that type of a feel. So your skill in expressing these things in your design will determine how the guests see the event and what they will expect, and also how they will expect to dress. How many times have you been to a wedding or you've gotten the invitation and that's how you figured out how formal the event was or how you needed to dress or what the appropriate attire was based on either what was put into the invitation or the way the invitation was created? So think about that. Using InDesign or Illustrator, you will follow the listed specifications. We're going to do a size A7 enclosure, so that's 4.75 by 6.75, and it can be portrait or landscape, and it's only one-sided. Only type can be used, no images, graphics, or clip art. Use the 5 listed techniques to create hierarchy in the text. Use a combination of 2 fonts or font styles to create emphasis. Simple lines, borders, or simple decorative elements available in the font can be used. Be careful not to decorate too much. Good typography should be center stage. Include a monogram for the couple using 2 to 4 letters. So see the week 3 course media for information on monograms. Color is allowed, but use it with care and purpose. Choose a CMYK setting when setting up your document and save the native file and a PDF version. Remember, this is a typography class, therefore the most important aspect of the invitation is the typography. I highly recommend sketching ideas using what you learned in your research for this week's discussion. Have fun, but remember that communicating the information to your guest is your first responsibility. And you'll be submitting the PDF version of the file for grading, and make sure you have it named appropriately. So we have some samples we can take a look at right here, which this isn't exactly, these are just notes. And then we have a sample. This one has a monogram. And again, yours should not follow either of the samples. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say that, but I will say it. Make sure you're reading over the rubric before you submit it and you have everything that you need. Like I said, that monogram, it is worth basically 25 points right there. And another 10 points on the design of it. So don't forget the monogram. Before I get into my design, I'm just going to take a quick peek. You know, I'm pretty sure that when you're thinking of this and you're like, oh, I can't use any images. Well, what am I supposed to do? You know, how can a wedding invitation be just typographic but also be beautiful? So can a typographic wedding invitation be beautiful? And the answer is yes, it most definitely can. And I have a couple of examples I want to show you. Right here, this is a typographic, other than these 2 very small hearts, completely typographic wedding invitation. Little bit more of this one's in Colorado, so this is kind of more of that probably Harley and I forget who Harley was marrying theme. Then we have Kate and Jamie. This is definitely more fun, a little bit of a hipster theme to it. It kind of reminds me of almost like a beer menu at a brewery in a way. I expect this place to have an open bar, when I get there. Then we have this one, which is, you know, definitely more formal. This is at a club, you know, probably a country club. And then we have this, again, another fun one. I like how they have the names purposely running off. And then we have these. Again, fun. So there's definitely some, you know, fun examples. All right, so I am going to do my invitation, don't save, in InDesign, because that is where I typically design my invitations. All right, so I'm going to go back up and make sure that I'm setting everything up with my A7. Do a new document. And there may be an A7 preset. We can take a look. A5, A4, A3. Nope, which is fine. So it is 4.75 by 6.75, one-sided. Oops, 6, not 8. One-sided. I will tell you this. You can choose to do a bleed. As far as additional flourishes, sorry, I'm just seeing yours right now. If the additional flourish is made with a font, I am okay with that. So, you know, if there's like a special character, you know, like like a wingdings or a webdings, and you want to do like a little decoration in the corners or to separate out sections of type, as long as it's a font that you made that flourish with, I am okay with that. Oh, and what I was saying is that you might want to set this up with a bleed, you know, depending on how you plan to put your background, have a color, etc. So I'm going to set mine up with a 0.125 bleed. And keep my margins at 1/2 and create. And I will say this, I updated my OS finally to High Sierra because I wanted to see how it's working. And I've noticed that it is making my InDesign run a little bit sluggish and a little bit slow. So if you find me having issues and muttering under my breath, this is why. It's been acting a little bit sluggish, and I've restarted my machine like 100 times. And I know that I might need to change some of my InDesign settings since I've done the update, because the High Sierra and Adobe aren't playing well together. And some people are having an okay time, you know, putting it on their machine, and other people are having an absolute disaster. At least I'm not having an absolute disaster, but I've noticed that it's made my machine a little bit more sluggish. So I just wanted to make you aware if like things seem to be acting weird on my computer, that is most definitely why it is happening. So just a little asterisk before I get started this evening. All right, so like I said, I'm going to be designing a invitation for a surprise birthday party, a surprise, let's go with 30th birthday party. So I'm going to only use type for mine, but I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping the CRAP principles in mind when I am putting this together. And I'm also going to have I'm going to have definite hierarchy in my design. The only thing that I'm not going to make at this point is, well, I'll make a quick monogram. I think I can probably make a monogram real quick. All right. So I'm going to start with my type, and it's going to be a surprise party, like I said. So I want to lay out my text first, and I want everybody to know right off of the bat that it is a surprise party. So I'm going to go in. I want a nice script font that's a little bit fun. Not formal, but fun. Let's try Alana. I'm going to say shh. Oops. And then ellipses. No, ellipses. There we go. Ew. Oh, I'll space it out myself. So right off the bat, when somebody says shh, you definitely know that it must be a surprise party. But I'm still going to put that in my invitation. I'm going to say, it's a surprise party or surprise birthday party. And then I need some type of a party font, I guess. And again, make sure that you're using Adobe Typekit to find fonts that you're looking for. I don't think I want handwritten. Maybe a serif. Something like engravers, but not that wide. Let's try this one. Something more fun, because it's a surprise party. A little bit more fun. Let's see. Don't you wish you could look for things that way? Just type in, what are you looking for? I'm looking for fun. No. It's a little bit more fun, a little bit more party-like. Then I need to put, you know, what it's for. So we're going to say, join us for a surprise 40th birthday celebration in honor of, oh, I said 30th, not 40th. In honor of, and I'll change these fonts after. I'll say Pamela Pratt. And when's the birthday? The birthday's going to be Saturday, February 8th. That's probably not even a Saturday. 2018 at 7 o'clock in the evening. And we'll say it's at the bar around the corner, 50 State Road, Boston, Mass. And then I want people to RSVP so I know how many people are coming to my surprise. So I'm going to say RSVP and by Thursday, January 31st to Shannon at Shannon.McNamara. Well, my email's too long. Shannon at gmail.com, which is not my real Gmail. All right. All right, so now I'm gonna finish up, like, picking some fonts and everything else. So I've got my It's a Surprise Birthday Party. This doesn't need to be as big as who it's for. So I'm gonna make Pamela Pratt's name much larger. And I wanted her name to be the same font, I think, as the party font, which was Imprint, I believe. Make her in caps. And I'll just go with a very simple sans serif for this information. Maybe Avenir book. Do the same for this. And this can be Avenir book. And I'll put RSVP in the same font as my font. We'll see what that looks like. Which is Alana. Whoops. And that's a little difficult to read. Maybe I'll do it in the imprint. Left justify that. Make RSVP nice and big. And I can bump this down to 2 lines. And I'll start to center this. All right, so now I need to look at some proximity here. Putting certain things near each other so that way I know that they go together. So the It's a Birthday Party definitely goes together, and I'm gonna move that up to the top of my page, near my top margin here. Then this information goes together as well. Move that near each other. And then the RSVP information can kind of stay together down at the bottom. And I'm gonna do a line here just to kind of separate some of this out. And let's look at it in preview to get rid of those boxes. Move this over. See, alignment is definitely key in something like this. All right, so I'm gonna have a bleed. I'm gonna have a dark background that bleeds. I need my swatches. Where are my swatches? Here we go. So for right now, I'm just gonna do black in the background, and I'm gonna do white on top of it until I decide what I'm doing. Send both those to the back. And I want to think about using some repetition. So, what's an interesting way? Maybe some horizontal lines would be some good repetition, kind of creating a little bit of a pattern here. We can do something like that in color. Where's my line? Here we go. Yeah, I don't think I'll do it at the angle I'm doing. Group that. There's my step and repeat. I always forget where this is. Ah, there we go. All right, step and repeat. Let's preview that. No. Oh, edit. This is why working in layers is good. I have a tendency when I'm in InDesign not to work in layers, and I end up driving myself bonkers when I don't do that. Centered. No, that was not what I meant to do. I need to put this text on another layer. We're gonna go nuts trying to colorize this. Where's my layers? There we go. And view this. And I'm going to bring in that white just a bit. And redo that again. And I can add some, color to my text. Kind of got like a blue going on here. Maybe do just the shh in a soft blue because it's, make it quiet. All right, so next I need to make that monogram real quick. So I'm gonna make my monogram in Illustrator, and then I'll import it as an image. I just think it'll be a little bit easier. And then I'm gonna deal with my alignment in this. I still need to work out some of my text, moving some of this text around. So my monogram doesn't need to be big. I'm just gonna make it, I'll do 3 by 3. What did I name her? Pamela Pratt. All right, so I'll do the letter P, maybe. In that, what font was this? Imprint. Let's try that imprint font first. Copy. I'll rotate this 90. So just a very quick monogram. Really? I don't know what they've done with this. Oh. There we go. Sometimes you really do need to get this zoomed in to get it right. And I'm going to change the color to that 30% cyan that I was working with. There we go. Got a little monogram for Pamela Pratt. If I was really going to get into this, I would definitely make this a square instead of a rectangle by altering things. But as of right now, I'm just going to save this as my monogram. Go to week 3. Make a folder for assignment. I'll just name this my monogram. Get a little bit bigger, just in case if I need it a little bit larger in InDesign. Close that out. My layers. Place that. Whew, and that's what I mean about things acting a little bit slow. I'll place this right in the middle. There we go. And I'm going to deal with that text as well. I think all of this should be moved up just a little bit. And even though I have this, it's not exactly centered. I'm going to try to visually center it. That's running a little bit close to my edge over there. So just a smidge. All of this down just a smidge. And bring the opacity of that down to maybe 50%. We don't want it clashing. And I kind of like that. All right, so Pamela's having a surprise birthday party. So you can see I've got some, I've got some repetition going on with the lines that I've added. I have proximity with different parts of my invitation. I've grouped certain things together, and I have, used fonts to make certain parts stand out, such as the party, Pamela, you need to RSVP. Those are the things, the shh, don't tell her it's a surprise. So that's part of my contrast. I'm using contrast with my, my different font sizes. And I have alignment. Everything is, lined up. I have things centered on my page because it's an invitation. Normally we wouldn't use a center alignment, but an invitation is one of those times where you probably would use a center alignment. And I have all of the pertinent information. So I'm going to save this as my appropriate naming convention. Copy that and do a file, save as. And I'm also going to do an Adobe PDF export. I'm going to leave in my bleed marks. So I'm going to do it with crops and bleed marks. I have a preset set for that. And I just realized that the assignment is named Assessment 3, not Assignment 3. So you'll want to change that. I just saw that. I'm like, why does it say assessment? Close that. And before I submit it, I'm going to double check it. And rename it. Always open up your PDFs, make sure nothing dropped off, everything looks good. And looks good to me. And I'll double check it against my rubric. So I created it in InDesign and I saved it as a PDF and I uploaded that PDF and it's named appropriately. So that'll be 5 points. My concept, I think, is creative and interesting. I have a monogram. Copy is not altered. It's type only. There's no images or illustrations. And I've added some suitable color. I have appropriate font choices for the occasion. And I have a well-suited combination of 2 contrasting fonts. You can use no more than 2 fonts. It says it here. So no more than 2 fonts, 3 type styles, however. So I have 3 fonts technically here. So I broke my own rule, but you can use 2 fonts. So I would possibly use a font that has like a bold and italic, etc. And that can be one of your type styles. I have hierarchy, I have line breaks, contrasting fonts and font sizes. I have color and leading. I have my monogram designed, and I have utilized the principles of design, the CRAP principles. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I would lose some points though for, having too many fonts. So in this instance, if I was going to fix this, what I would do, oh, I renamed it, that's why. There we go. Is I would change the sh to probably match either this font, or I would I would choose a font that maybe I would change It's a Surprise to what I use, Avenir. I'll probably do it this way and leave that font. Whoa, that got weird. Party can be in Elena, not caps. Probably do the same thing here. Not caps. This font's a little weird the way it's set up. And RSVP, I would change to Avenir. Probably heavy. So that's how I would get around that. I probably altered the design just a little bit. Maybe do something crazy like move the Y up. So that's how I would get around that. And now I have 2 fonts. Save it again. Make a new PDF. And now I can feel confident that I can get a 120 out of 120. And double check my PDF. Always double check your PDFs before you upload them. I probably would end up choosing a different script font, but I'm not going to go and redesign the whole thing for you. All right. So let's take a look, like I said, at the assessment for this week. And I'm not going to do each of the things in the assessment. I'm not going to do a demo of it, but I am going to show you how to set it up and a couple of the things that I think you may need some help with. So let me go over into the slideshow for a second. And I thought that in regards to some of these things have to do with your assessment, some of these things will have to do with your assignment. So let's take a look at some of the common problems with text layout, because you might run into these problems when you're either putting together the assessment or when you're creating your invitation. So lines of text can be too long and should be a maximum of 65 to 75 characters, also known as 2 alphabets. So think of that when you're doing the assessment for this week, when you're coming up with a plan. Text that is too close to the edge of the page can be difficult to read, so the space should be greater than the space between the lines of text. That's why we always, add in at least a ½ inch of a margin. It's really a good rule of thumb. Also, text is too close to other items such as graphics or pictures. Think of that when you're adding that pull quote in your assessment, if it runs too close. Text is unreadable over the background. Dark colors on dark backgrounds, there's no contrast. The same thing with light colors on light backgrounds, no contrast. And also text over a multicolored background, very difficult to read, little bit easier. I'm not going to print too well, but now I can read you. This, definitely difficult to read. It's a difficult font in a difficult color over a difficult background. If your body copy is bold, it's difficult to read. See how much more difficult this is than this. Your eye doesn't have to squint as much. All caps for body text, bad idea because it's hard to read. This is way easier to read than this is. Also, all caps with the script font, extremely difficult to read. That's why I had to go in and change party from all caps, make sure it was upper and lowercase when I changed it to that script font. Also, script fonts used in, another example of script fonts used in all caps, or script fonts used in body copy, difficult to read. Using a handwritten font for your body copy, difficult to read. If you are if you're creating body copy, you need to stick to a very plain serif or a very plain sans serif. Body copy is not the place for flair. Remember that. Fonts are distorted, so they're stretched. All right, so for the people who are here tonight, why is that a bad idea? to distort the fonts? I know I've gone over it in the past, but I want to see if anybody remembers why it's a bad idea to distort the fonts. So the reason why it's bad is that the fonts were designed with a specific mathematical equation in mind. And when you start to stretch them, they don't render correctly because they weren't designed to be used at that width or at that height. So you're distorting the mathematical measurements and it gets spoiled by stretching those letters. So here we go. And you can see the difference here. Here's the regular, here's a true condensed of that font, and then here's that font stretched to make a fake condensed version. You can see how it's just not well drawn. It gets squeezed in here and it's wider here. Same thing goes with a regular if you stretch it. Vertically stacked text really only works in limited situations, and there are not a lot of situations where that works. As you can see. If your first line indent is too large, it should be 2 M spaces, and an M is the X height or about the width of the lowercase m. If you have inconsistent spacing after your paragraphs, it's just like your eyes are like, whoa. Again, here. And too many effects used on your text, like blur, shadow, blends, bevels, shadows, or shading, gradient fills. Your text should stand out on its own without needing an effect. If you need an effect, your text is not well designed. Remember that. And outlining your body text, very difficult to read. Or if your body text is too large. Widows and orphans at the end of a paragraph. This is the widow all by herself up here. Orphans, left alone, the last word left alone at the bottom. And again, too many effects. And I've just got some commonly abused terms, so you can read that over. All right, so this part is going to help you with your assessment this week. There are such things as an M dash, an N dash, and a hyphen. So here's your hyphen, here's your N dash, and here's your M dash, which you may think the letter N, the letter M. It's actually spelled E-N and E-M. And there's different instances when each is used. So true words that are brought together as a compound may be written separately, written as one word, or connected by hyphens. For example, 3 modern dictionaries all have the same listing for the following compounds: hairstylist, hair splitter, or hair razor. And you would use a hyphen in this instance. An N dash usually replaces the word to between numbers. So please join us on Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. to celebrate our son's birthday. But you wouldn't write, please join us on Saturday from 1 to 4. If from precedes the numbers, you need to write to between the numbers. Or, in this instance, the New England Patriots beat the Falcons 34-28. Then you have your M dash. So the M dash can be used in place of a colon, a comma, or a parentheses. I have 2 pets, a dog and a cat. The dash is used in place of a colon. My 2 pets, a dog and a cat, are quite rambunctious. So you could replace the dashes with commas or parentheses. I use an M dash to indicate that a speaker has been interrupted. I was going to tell you that, and then it runs off. The M dash can be used to signify an abrupt change in thought as well. I was going to tell you that. Hold on, someone is at the door. Good instances of an M dash. And then this slide right here, I suggest that you print it out and keep it at your desk for all of time. And someday you'll go, you know, I'm really happy I took Shannon McNamara's typography class and she gave us a slide to print out because I've been using this for the last 10 years. Because you probably will. Because it's very difficult to remember all of the quick keys for doing all of the different dashes or correct punctuation. When you do punctuation, just hitting the quotes in InDesign, it does them as the inch or foot sign. They are not correct open or quote close or double open or double close quotes. And the same with the ellipses. Ellipses is option semicolon, not 3 dots in a row. And then we have some other marks. So there's such thing as an end space. You have your dagger, your double dagger, copyright symbol, register symbol, euro symbol, FI ligature. This is a thing. F and I in a word should be used with the FI ligature. And what that does is it runs the dot of the I into the top of the F. And the same with the FL ligature. In any instance where a word has an FL, you would use an FL ligature. And it runs the L into the F. Then you have your E accents, your A accents, U, and these, I can't even say what they are, but you've seen the symbols. So this should help you. So again, punctuation, quotation marks are often misused. Often when you see what you see on your keyboard is actually only supposed to be used for inch marks or feet. The correct way is to have open and closed quotation marks. Sometimes these are incorporated into a font to automatically be used when you type. Check to make sure there's a difference between the opening and closing quote marks. So your quick keys again. And then I have a quick video, but you guys can watch that on your own. I will give you access to the slides, unless if we have time, I will come back to this at the end. And I also included a link to create a simple monogram and a link to a type matching game, which again, if we have some time, we'll do that. And let's take a look at assessment 3. I put some hints here for you. Here are my hints. Use master pages for your folio and typography. You'll know what I mean when you look at the assessment. Read over the INDD specs carefully. It shouldn't have a bleed. There are specific margins, and it should be set up with either 2 or 3 columns. That is your choice. And I've also included some helpful screenshots for you. So here's what a pull quote should look like. You'll notice it's a quote much larger than your body text, and it usually spans the 2 columns. And then inserting a folio. And I also have a link to help you out as well up here. So when you're inserting your folio in your master page, draw a text box, right click, and select Insert, Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number, and it'll put the page number for you. I shouldn't see that somebody has manually typed in number 1, and I'll be able to tell if it's a folio or if you typed in the number 1. It has to be done on your master page, so if you didn't do a master page, that is how I will know. All right, so let's go take a look at this assessment. In typography, it's often the small details that make the biggest difference, and that will set you apart as a designer. Well-trained eyes will quickly pick up on uneven spacing or leading, incorrect hyphens, widows, and the finer touches of using the correct symbols and glyphs. This is what sometimes is called practicing sensitive typography. Readability and flow of text, legibility and readability of the text is a designer's main goal. If people can't read it, you have missed the mark with your design. Legibility is determined by if the letters are large and distinct enough so the reader can make out individual words and letters. As we went over in both week 1 and 2's discussions, classic, time-tested serif, often preferred for print, and sans serif, Preferred for the web, fonts are your best bet for body copy, as they are well crafted and designed with clear proportions and the reader in mind. Typeset in all capital letters is hard to read, especially in long passages. The monotony of the rectangular shapes of uppercase letters can make them harder to distinguish. Using both upper and lowercase characters not only helps signal a new sentence, but the lowercase letters have more unique and recognizable shapes. Ascenders and descenders are visual cues that make the text more readable. Readability has to do with the text as a whole. Does the overall quality of the page make it easy to read? Is it inviting and pleasurable to the eye? Readability is especially important in setting body copy. How well the text flows is affected by how well the letters fit together to form the words, then lines, then paragraphs. The flow and readability of the text will depend on how it's typeset and the designer's choices. The size, style, tracking, leading, and alignment choices you make as you set the type affect the overall readability, comfort, and color of the text. Heavy dark text created by large bold fonts and tight spacing becomes tiresome and bulky to take in. Light text created by small thin fonts and open spacing can give an elegant or exclusive feel, but takes up a lot of space and becomes difficult to follow in longer paragraphs of copy. You will notice that some of these directions are a bit different from what you learn in your English classes in APA or Chicago style formatting. Typography is mainly concerned with aesthetics, which in turn strive for easy to read text that visually contributes to the understanding of the context. In setting text for copy, our job as designers is to work behind the scene and in subtle and almost subconscious ways to help the reader effortlessly process the text. So the reader shouldn't notice that you use those ligatures. It should just all flow together. Then punctuation and special characters. So another way to elevate your typesetting skills to a professional level is to use correct punctuation, spacing, and special characters when called for. Dashes and hyphens are often mixed up. An N dash is the size of an N, half the size of an M dash, and is to be used when connecting numbers or indicating a duration such as 9 to 10 p.m. or January to July. An M dash is longer, the size of an M, and indicates pauses or strong grammatical breaks. Hyphens are the regular dash that connects words that are split up by line breaks, and quotation marks are often misused. Often what you see on your keyboard is actually only supposed to be used for inch marks. The correct way is to have open and closed quotation marks. Sometimes these are incorporated into a font to automatically be used when you type. Check to make sure there's a difference between the opening and the closing mark. And this is how you can tell. See how the dots are at the bottom and then they're at the top here? That's how you know you're using quotation marks as opposed to using the inch marks. The first opening quote will always have the dots down at the bottom. So practice your typesetting skills and understanding the 19 rules of typography found in this week's course media, and we also went over it last week in the slideshow, by setting the provided text in a document set as an article with the reader in mind. So you're going to download the Word document to be used. I should have it open, which I do right here. And your size will be 8.5 by 11. So let's just set this up real quick. Like I said, you'll do the typesetting, but I'll set it up for you or with you. So we're going to do print a letter, 8.5 by 11. We should have 0.5 margin at the top, left, right, but the bottom is going to be 0.75. So bottom we will change to 0.75. We should not have a bleed. And it should be set up for 2 or 3 columns. I'll just set it up for 3 and hit create. And then you will create text boxes to fit those columns and import that text, so copy and paste it, or you can just import it into InDesign. So let's say you want to import the text. Draw your text boxes. I'm going to do my 3 text boxes. And do a file, or edit, sorry. Place and link. No. Oh, I forget what it was. I haven't done this in a minute. Import, import, import. Should be place and link. Oh. Come on. There we go. Edit. They changed the way they did this. It used to be that you could place it just like the same way you placed an image. And I forget. It's import type, or it's probably under type. Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts. I'm gonna look it up for you. Import text. Yeah, see, it used to be file place. I just haven't done it in a minute. Oh, import Word document into InDesign CC. All right, I'm not making that up. File place. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, losing my mind. I don't remember what this was called. TES 113 Assessment 3. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I imported this into my first text box, but what I can do, see where I have this red square with the plus sign, is I can, with my black arrow, click on this and link it to this text box and then do the same thing and link it to that text box. And you can make sure that everything is the same font, which it should be for some reason, like a little weird. But one of the things it does say in the assessment is do not include the references, which were at the end. So you're going to take off that last line of references. So that's how you import the text. Next, you're going to choose an alignment in column width that makes a comfortable read. So again, no more than 2 alphabets. So maybe you like a 2-column grid more than a 3-column grid. Also, set up paragraph styles for your body copy, subheadlines, and your pull quote. Choose an appropriate typeface, style, size, leading, and tracking for your headline, your subheadlines, your body copy, and your byline. Choose a sentence or part of a sentence for a pull quote and use contrast techniques to have it stand out. You're going to add a page number to the folio. So again, we're going to go in, go to pages. I'm going to go to my master page. Don't know why my master is set up on 2 pages. Oh, I hate when it does this. So you're going to do a text box, right click, insert special character, markers, current page number. It's going to put an A right there, but when you go to, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Do it on this page, on the right page. There we go. And in here will be that number 1, and see how I can't select it? It's always going to be a number 1 for page 1. So that's how you do that folio. And then you're also going to include the name of the publication, typography, as a footer. I would put this in your master page as well, probably on the other side from the page number, and down here outside of your margin, right up, butting up against the bottom of your margin. And make sure whatever font you choose for, typography, that it matches the rest of, the feel of your piece. It's part of the design as well. Same thing goes with your page number. Make sure everything kind of matches. You will be graded on how well you address the following typesetting standards: a headline, a byline, body copy, subheadings, paragraph separations, a pull quote, your column, line, and length, proper placement of the folio and footer, and your observation of basic design principles. So use paragraph and character style. Sometimes you might have to use a character style instead of a paragraph style. Remember that. To ensure that you have a consistent treatment of the text. Watch out for those widows, orphans, and excessive hyphenation and rivers in the text. And you'll notice it doesn't tell you what's the headline, what's the subheadline. Just note there's probably one headline on a page. Anything else might be a subheadline. It's up to you to figure this out and design this. So I would still open up the Word file even if you import that text, just to get an idea of how things need to be placed. You can see you've got some quotation marks that are going to need to be fixed. You might be able to get rid of these and use one of the correct type of dashes. Again, right here, using dashes instead, trying to see if there's a place where anything says 2 or 4. So yeah, so make sure that you are following all the different rules. Take your time with this. Make sure it is saved as an InDesign file and that you are submitting your native InDesign file for grading. So I can see what's going on and I can check. If you submit a PDF, I will send it back to you and tell you you need to submit the InDesign file. Make sure you're submitting the correct file type. If you would like to submit a PDF with it, that is completely acceptable. And there are some samples here. And again, your work should not match any of the samples. So if you don't want to see anything before you do it, don't look at the samples. All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left. So let's take a look at our type game. This is just kind of fun. This is something you guys can do. We'll take a look at that, the type video instead, real quick. So we got about 6 minutes, and you guys can play the type game on your own.
Typefaces aren't merely about forms, they're about design systems. They have to do with the way things relate to one another.
It's the joy of what happens with color and form and information.
Fonts are clothes in a sense. They help visually externalize your identity to the world.
It's about tension, it's about spatial arrangement, it's about the texture, and it's about the dynamics.
Typefaces are not toys. They're tools. They're designed to solve problems. Some people say that there are 2 kinds of type designers. There are those whose voice is always detectable in the work they do, and those whose voice is never detectable in the work they do. Tobias and I try to conceal our handiwork in typefaces. I would love people to recognize our work, to respond to it in some emotional way, but again, for it to play second fiddle to the message.
A lot of the conversations that we have would sound kind of bizarre. We're trying to figure out, like, what is the gray flannel suit version of this form?
It's like, this is too Tom and Jerry. It needs to be more Don Draper. It's just like,
and we know even see exactly what they're talking about. It's like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Letters are everywhere, and that's one of the things that makes typography so interesting to people these days.
It's such a pervasive part of our day. You need type again and again and again to get through the day, to live your life.
So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I really suggest that you watch this because it's so great. But I knew exactly what they meant when they said, you know, this is too Tom and Jerry and we need more of a Don Draper, in my head, I was like, yep, I know exactly what they mean by that. And eventually, when you are so immersed in type, you will find yourself saying the same exact things. Or if somebody says that to you, you'll completely get it. So anyways, that's to wrap it up for tonight. You know, 2 really fun and really great assignments for you guys this week. Definitely assignments that will help you in your careers and will look amazing in your portfolio. So please take your time with them this week. Again, the multi-session will be tomorrow night from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. If you are running into any issues and you want to pop over. And you can always get me via email. So I'm going to end it tonight. Does anybody have any questions before we go tonight? All right, great. Well, have a great night, and I definitely look forward to seeing everybody's work. All right, talk to you next week.